All right, let's get started. Please download Laboratory 14, Pandas for Butter. In the last two labs, we learned how to use NumPy package, right? And in lab 14 and lab 15, we need to learn how to use Pandas, how to use the functions in Pandas library, okay? First one, please run the first script to identify your host name, username, and current information. And then it is please input your name, number, and the date. Okay. Pandas here a data table is called a data frame in Pandas. Let's see one diagram here. You see the content is a gray one, right? And the dark gray, it is about the row names and the index names, right? We call it a header row or index column. They are special, like they are special rows and the columns of the data frame. But yeah, so first in the following, I think in the following labs, first you need to import NumPy SNP and import Pandas as the SPD as your first cell, as the first, perhaps the second cells. Okay, let's write to import. Please make sure to import the this package, because if you don't do that, you will get an error. All right. And next one, we learn how to use the basic Python codes to construct a data frame, right? We don't use the Pandas library at first. As the first example, we learn. Let me show you how to use the loops, use the Python loops to construct a data frame. All right. First, let's we construct the three lists: one for row names, and one for column names, and one for the content. And for the content, we need to use the NumPy library. For instance, here, numpy.random. Random would be a sub package of NumPy package, right? And the random integer from 1 to 100, right? And then it is the rank of the matrix. It is 5 rows and 4 columns. It is 12. There are 12 elements in the matrix, and each of them is randomly selected from 1 to 100. Okay. And second one would be the row name, right? From A to E, it means 5 rows, and the column from W to Z, 4 columns. And after that, we set the label. Actually, here we only use this my table to construct an empty one. Okay, it is an empty one, so this is exactly the same as this one, right? So if you cannot understand this one line code, you can consider here. So we use 2 different loops: J column to iterate from 0 to the length of the column name and +1. So it means, and the second loop would be all the row names, right? After that, we use this blank, or you can call it empty content here, to make it as a placeholder. Okay, please write, and you can print out. Okay, my tabular, my table. Here, this one, it would be, they are all randomly selected numbers, right? Perhaps on your own computer, on your own cells, it would be different, but it doesn't matter because they are all random numbers. And next one here, my table is like we create a new data frame and build a placeholder for the data frame, right? And see here, they are all empty, or we can call it blank elements. And after that, we write the row names and write the column names and fill the table. Okay. Sudo data frame, and note next one is about how to insert all the row names, column names, and the content to that. Okay, so after that, you see we use 3 loops. The first one, we write the row names, because the row names row names would be the first column, right? First column, right? So we get started as the from the elements, from the second element, as you see here, 0, 0. The first element would be empty. So that's why we get started from 1, and you iterate all the rows, and 0 means the first element of each row. It means the first column, and then write the row names. And next one is about we only need the first row, but all the columns, right? That's why here we set 0 is fixed. It means the first row and the following columns. And after that, we write all the column names. And they are the first 2 loops. And for the third loops, it is a nested loop, right? You need to fill the table. You need to insert the content. And after that, we also start from 1. It means the second element, right? And the I row and the J column. And after that, insert all numbers from this MyTabular, okay? And after that, you can print out the data frame. Here, you can from each row. So it is it's a good example to show how to print out the matrix or n-dimensional arrays, right? N-dimensional lists. Here is print out the row, and it is what we want, right? It looks like the data frame, but not exactly the same, but it's very similar with the data frame we learned, right? And after that, we can perform any queries on the table. The first one we set as 3. It means index 3. It means the fourth row. The fourth row, all the columns of the fourth row, right? And after that is you can query them by the column. You can set the column to means the third column, right? And each row, the third element of each row, it means the third column, right? The X column. Actually, we set is 2, right? It's the third column, but the first column is used to store the row names, right? That's why here the third column would be X 4, 25, 18, 70, 74, and 8. Okay, and you can also sort of like a spreadsheet syntax. You can compare it with that. Yeah, so it is about how to use loops and how to use the NumPy random sub package to create a data frame for you. Okay, so in this example, we only use the NumPy package. We didn't use the pandas package, right? But you see, it is very, very complicated because we need to use several loops to construct the data frame, right? So, okay, so any questions so far? All right, next example, we need to use the functions from the pandas library to create a proper data frame. For instance, here we do the same thing using pandas data frame and random integer 1 to 100 and 5 and 4 represents the 5 rows and 4 columns, right? So you use the pandas library data frame function and then 3 arguments. The first arguments would be the content of your data frame, right? And the second one would be the row name, and the third one would be the column name, right? And the printout, okay? See, it is a proper way, right? It is the 5 and 4, so it's the 5 rows and 4 columns for the content, and A to E for the row names, and W to Z is for the column names, right? And after that, we can also turn our table into a data frame. If you so in this example, we pass the 3 arguments, right? The first for the content, the second one for the row names, and the third one for the column name. But if we ignore that, we only pass 1 argument, as you see in this table. As in this cell, we only pass my table You see what is my table? Here is my table, right? My table is like 6 rows, 5 columns content, right? If we don't pass the row names and the column names, the data frame will give you the row names and column names by defaultly, okay? But they are all in numbers. So as you see here, W to Z, A to Z, A to E, right? And they are all numbers from 0 to 1, 0 to 5, and 0 to 4. And the second one, to get a proper behavior, we need to use the proper way. We need to add the content, the row names and column names one by one, okay? So there are 3 arguments. So if you forget to input or insert the row names and column names, it will be numbers. So I think it's not what you want, right? Because here the row names and column names are considered as the contents, right? So that's why you need to use the 3 arguments. And later I will show you how to use a dictionary to construct the data frame, okay? Later today. And next one is about how to get the shape of the data frames. The shape method will return the row and column rank of the data frame. It means the row number and the column number of the data frame. All right. So as you see here, data frame, it is about the content itself. So there are 5 rows and 4 columns. But for the df1, you see, we accidentally use the whole table as the content. So that's why it is 6 rows and 5 columns. And the last one with 5 rows and 4 columns, okay? Getting the shape of the data frames. All right, so any questions so far? All right, next one is about how to append the new columns and new rows. In data frame, in pandas, it's very easy to append the new columns and remove the columns, but it would be a little bit tricky to append new rows and new column and remove new rows. Okay, let's see. To append a column, you can just assign a value to a new columns named to a data frame. As use that data frame and the square brackets, and the new column name would be new, and the value will be NA, right? So after that, you can append all the columns. And after that, if you want to append new rows, it's very tricky, but we can, we have a better way. We can make a copy of the row, and then we put it, we append it at the bottom, at the end of your original data frames. So for instance, here we make a copy of a single row. Here we copy the single row E last row, right? And then we rename it E as X, and then we concatenate to the end of your DF toward your data frame, right? Let's see it. So let's see, the last 2 rows, they are exactly the same, except the name, right? The row name. So it would be a better way, because if you want to do that straightforward, and it's very hard, okay? And next one is about how to remove the rows and the columns. Remove the columns is straightforward. We can use a drop method, new table, and then drop. New means the column names, this column, and then set the axis as 1. It means the column, right? In place as true. Then you can drop the last column. And to remove a row, an easier way is we create a new data frame, but we except one row, right? So as you see here, we can use this locate LOC. Actually, it's also about the indexing, how to index the different rows. We can get a row A, B, C, A, B, D, E, X. And after that, we get a copy. It means we only want these 5 rows out of 6 rows, right? It means we remove the third row. Okay, it's the easier way. So because it's very hard to remove a row straightforwardly. Okay, so any questions so far? All right, next one is about how to index the rows and all the columns. If you want to index some columns, it's very easy. You can just use a square brackets and then set the column names. You can select a single column or multiple columns. But please make sure if you want to select a single column, there's only one square brackets. But for multiple columns, you need to use a double square brackets, right? Double brackets, square brackets. Yeah. So and if you want to index the rows of the rows, not the columns, you need to use a method LOC, right? And then similarly, so you need to use a square brackets as E or multiple rows, right? And if you want to select like some elements via rows, both rows and the columns, you need to use the indexer again. So let's see here, if we don't use the second way, we don't set the column, and it will show you all the columns, right? But if we only want the middle 2 columns, we can set X and Y, then compare it. So we only have 6 elements, right? Not 12 elements here. E rows and 2 columns. Yeah, sorry. It's about how to index the columns and the rows. Any questions so far? All right, next one is how to perform the conditional selection. I think that's one important reason we use the pandas library, because you don't need to write the functions by yourself. For instance, here we use a different way to construct a data frame. Because in the first, third, or in the second example, we showed how to use the 3 arguments, like the 3 lists to construct a data frame, right? And in this way, we use a dictionary to construct a data frame. You see, if you see the curly brackets, it is a dictionary, right? And there are 3 elements in the dictionaries. The keys are column 1, 2, 3, and then the values are all lists, right? And after that, we set it as an argument, and then the keys would be the column names, and the values would be the content of your data frame. But you see the row names is missing, right? So it will give you the numbers for indexing. Okay, so I see column 1, 2, 3 as the column names, and 1 to 7 as the indexed row names. And here is the contents. Okay. And next one, very important. So what is a conditional selection? So here is what fruits corresponds to the number 555 in column 2. So first of all, you need to find you need to find the rows of column 2 is the 555, right? So you said it is here, so it is an expression, right? If you run it, it will evaluate the expression first, find the row number, and give you the row number, and use the index. It is a way to index, right? Index the number, row number, and the third column 3 for the fruit, right? And after that, you see the row number would be 1. It means the second row and the column name would be apple. It means the apple corresponds to the number 555 in column 2. Okay, so you can use this way to, you don't need to write your own function. It's easier, right? And next one, you can find the fruits corresponds to the minimum number or maximum number in column 2. Okay. So for instance, here we just replaced 555 with the df column 2 dot mean round brackets. It means it is the minimum number, right? And it will find the minimum number, the row number first, and set here and get the fruit. 5 watermelon, right? 5 watermelon. Conditional selection. Okay, so next one is about how to construct a data frame from dictionary. So we just learned, right? So yeah, so you can use the dictionary and different bracket, 3 or several key-value pairs, and but the keys would be strings because they are considered as a column names, right? And the values would be better to be some lists because they are all the contents of your data frame, right? Any questions so far? Okay, after that is also very important. So because you need to learn several methods, they are widely used, very easy, but they are powerful methods. So head method, so you can return the first few rows useful to infer structures, returns only the first 5 rows. For instance, you can use the df.head to print out the first 5 rows from column 1 to column 3, right? And here, if you don't pass any arguments, it will consider to be 5. So it will consider to show the first 5 rows, but if you set it as, for instance, 6, can set is the first 6 elements, the first 6 rows, or 3, the first 3 rows, right? Perhaps for now you think it's not very important, but because for now our data frame is very small, right? We only have like a 100, perhaps 200 rows. But if you need to analyze some large project, perhaps you have like a billion of rows, so you cannot show them in the memory. You display them on your screen, right? So you need to get a sample. That's why you need to use the head method, okay? But you can also use the tail to show the last few, right? So here is the last 5 rows, right? Very convenient. And next one is about the info. The info will show you the count. So how many, so the data column count, names and data types. It will give you the data types. It's very easy to learn, okay? So for instance here, column 1 and column 2, they are all integers, and the column 3, they are objects or the strings, right? So here, column 1, column 2, they are all integers, and the third one would be the strings or object, okay? And next one, this one is very, very important, describe function method. So it will return summary statistics of each numeric column. It will return the minimum and maximum value in each column and AQR. Show it. So the first one will count. So it means there are only 8 rows, and the second row is the mean number. It will calculate the arithmetic mean and the standard deviation, minimum number, AQR, maximum number. Okay. So it means you don't need to write your own functions. It's very easy and it's very efficient. You can just use this method to show the summary statistics. All right. Okay, any questions so far? Okay, next one is possible. You can also use the counting and sum method. So you see for the DF, let me show you the DF first. It is the data frame we created, right? And if you want to sum all the numbers of column 2, you can just use this method, sum and then it will give you some number, or you can, if you want to find a list of unique values, you can use the unique method. It is only 5, although there are 8 rows, but there are some duplicates, right? So there are 5 numbers, so unique values, and then n-unique means the number of the unique, so only 5, right? Only 5 to the total numbers of the unique values, and the value counts. So it means it will show you each unique values and then return the number of the occurrence 5 times, not 5 times, 2 times, 2 times, 2 times, and 1 time and 1 time. So that's why here there are 8 rows, but only 5 unique values. It's very useful. And next one is about how to use the functions in their frames. It's also very important, and it means you can apply any functions, your own functions on your data frames. For instance, here is a simple function to multiply an object x by 2, right? You can print out, and here's you can select one column and dot apply, right? Dot apply to return the result. Okay, so it means you can write. So first one, you print out column 2, it is the original values, right? And you apply the argument should be the function name. Okay, so that's why here you need to define the function name first, and after that it will give you the numbers. It will pass each element of column 2 as the argument of the function. So that's why you need to pass the function name in the apply function. Okay, and if return the result would be the object by 2. Okay, so that's why here the first one 444, it is 38. The 555 is 1110, right? So it is the result. Apply the functions. Okay, so the last one would be the sort. How to sort the values. It's similar with the NumPy, right? Because we have some built-in functions in the data frame, right? So we can sort them based on the columns. We can set ascending, or true means we want it in ascending order. False means we want it as in a descending order, right? So right from it's a ascending order, right? And you see the row numbers have been changed because it will compare. It will room the whole row, right? Next one is about the false. Okay, so it's about how to sort the values, how to sort based on one column. Okay, so any questions so far? All right, I think that's okay. So here is the diagram. I suggest you to download it and learn the functions and learn how to use them. There are some simple examples here. Okay, and there's no exercise today. And on Wednesday, we need to learn the part 2 of the pandas library. Okay, so if you don't have any questions, yes, correct. You only need to run all the cells, no exercises today. Yeah, run all the cells and then submit. Okay. All right. So yeah, that's all I want to share today. If you don't have any questions, please feel free to leave the meeting, and see you on Wednesday. Okay. Thank you guys. Have a good one. Thanks. Remember.
小郭，你都没刷呢。